All right, good morning. Forgive me, part of running late was my fault. I'm running into so many people that you don't belong here. You've either moved here or I've run into you from school, and that's just one of the great things about God's family, isn't it? We even have a Philippines connection with the tents, with friends there, so that just makes it so fun. But thank you so much for the invitation to come and to spend some time together, and there is certainly nothing more enjoyable than to sitting down with God's people and getting into His book. I hope you have the Heavenly Library with you, so I'm going to ask you to take down the book of Genesis and go to Genesis chapter 11. Genesis chapter 11, just hold that for a moment. But let's begin with something very timely that I'm sure everybody here, regardless of your age, can identify with. Who's got a phone with you this morning? All right. Who's already been on your phone and used it in some way this morning? Oh, I have. Anybody got the Fitbit? I got a Fitbit now. This is new for me. I was so excited to look at my sleep data from last night after an extra hour, and I don't know, it didn't register or something. I feel robbed right now. And then when it did finally come up, it said something like 6 hours, and I'm like, no, there's no way. You know, I was down. But isn't it interesting how technology is such a part of our life, and we use it all the time. I was leaving the house this morning, and the first thing Kevin says, you know how to get there? I was like, I've got GPS. You know, I'll just put it in the phone, came straight to it. It's so cool. Many years ago, when I was going off to college, in fact, I was leaving Lubbock, Texas, and headed down to Florida College. I loaded everything in the back of my car, and so, which included clothes and golf clubs. That was my life. But I did have one thing going with me that was very important. A friend. Some of you may know him if you're real old. His name was Rand McNally. Anybody know Rand? That was a map book. And so I left Texas and drove, following the map book, get to Louisiana. Then you flip over to Louisiana, get to Mississippi, flip over to Mississippi, and drove all the way down there by myself. I did stop, made a stop in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I went to this gadget. Some of y'all may have seen them in museums. They're called payphones. And I hit 0, and Sarah from Andy Griffith picked it up, the operator. And I like to make a collect call to this number, my home number, and I remember the operator goes, this is a collect call. My dad picked it up, and will you accept a collect call from Phil? And I was glad he said yes. Do y'all remember those days? Remember calling cards? It seems like antiquity of antiquities. It's right there with the chisel and the stone when you talk about payphones today. But phones, technology, it's a part of our life, and it's really amazing, and it's really fun when you see people use it for good things. This couple is teaching self-defense. If anybody ever attacks you, use the praying mantis pose, and that will help protect you. Isn't that fun? This family, actually these guys just graduated from air traffic control school apparently, and they're giving signals. So that's one of your preachers there, just to let you know. That ought to concern you. But if you really want to win the internet, children are always the best way to go, aren't they? Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Anybody here on Facebook? Yeah. Anybody find it fun to connect with everybody on Facebook? Yeah. It's an amazing tool, and it's lots of fun. And if we're really honest with ourselves, we use this technology a lot. Would that be fair? And in many ways, it's made our life better, more interactive, easier to some degree. But at the same time, you and I both know that there's a great danger that comes with technology, because this is the picture you really see the most, isn't it? How many times have you been to a restaurant? How many times have you been out and you see everybody sitting there on their screen? And here's the irony of social media, if we're really honest. Social media has made us less social. Fair? Yeah. And I'm going to speak to you now as a camp director and somebody who has the blessing to work with kids. It's greatly affecting our children. It's greatly affecting our children. Here's what we're seeing with respect to time spent on screens. The average person will spend anywhere from 5 to 7 hours a day on a screen. Now, that doesn't mean it's all bad, okay? Sometimes we're into podcasts, or we're using it like I did today for maps, or we're maybe listening to something that is educational, or we're using it for research or checking up on news. And so there is an advantage to it. Maybe reading a book, you're on a screen. But most of the time, most people are not using it in a way that is extremely beneficial. Most of the time, most people are using it for just random searching or social media. Statistics show, especially among children, and when I say children, I'm saying early 20s all the way down to whenever parents give them a cell phone at whatever age, they're using it 90% of the time for social media and things of that nature. The average teen, over 8 hours a day. College students, depending on what they're having to use their phone for, can be even higher a day, which means at the end of our life, if we're using our phone that much, or we're on a screen and we could throw in there an iPad or anything else, the average person by the end of their life using their technology this much will spend 10 full years in front of a screen. And when I say 10 full years, I'm not just saying 8 hours a day. No, I'm saying 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 10 full years on a screen. And it's affecting us. In many ways, it is changing us. Anybody here grow up in a day and an age where your mom or dad would say, all right, just be home by 5? Anybody remember that? You'd hop on your bike and you just cruise anywhere, and you went around town, you just went anywhere, you had to be back by 5. And what was interesting, I didn't even have a watch, but I knew how to make it back by 5. I don't know if we used the sun or what we were doing, but you needed to be back by 5, and it was just free reign, and you went and enjoyed life. Those times have changed. Those times have greatly changed. And there's a lot of security issues that we wouldn't just let our kids take off. But the irony is, we're on our phones so much that I actually said turn to the Bible, pick out a Bible verse. It wasn't an apple that Satan gave Adam and Eve, but it may have been an iPhone, But here's what's happening when you get into the cell phone. All right, y'all, in Genesis chapter 11, you ever really spent a lot of time in the story of the Tower of Babel? Anybody like me ever wondered why God got so upset? I mean, come on. All right, they're just building a tower, Is there anything immoral about building a tower? Let them build a tower. Eventually, it's going to get so high, they're just going to pass out from a lack of oxygen, right? And that would be kind of funny. If I was God, I'd say, well, go ahead. Let's just see how high you can go. Whatever, yeah. But when you get into the story, I want you to listen. I'm going to begin reading here in verse 4. I want you to listen to what people were saying. This is a collective is saying. Then they said, this is verse 4, Genesis 11, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top into the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, behold, they are one people, and they all have one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they purpose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language so that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of all the earth. Now, if I was a preacher that just liked to find verses that fit what I wanted to preach, and I was trying to preach a sermon on unity, this would be an awesome text. Did you hear what it said? When they're all unified together, they can do nothing but what they want to do, and nothing is going to be impossible for them. I tell you what, this is a good lesson on unity. We all need to be together. This shows the power of unity. And look at this. Everybody all over the world is unified for one purpose. Yeah, I mean, that should fit right into the Olympics every year, shouldn't it? But time out. Sometimes unity is not good for us at all. Because what man purposed in his heart wasn't just about building a city. Notice what man said, lest we be dispersed over the face of all the earth. What's interesting, if you go back to Genesis 1, Genesis 2, and Genesis 9, the Lord gave man one command: fill the earth. Fill the earth. I don't want all of you just getting all together. I want you to fill the earth. I want you to be dispersed. And here's what God knew and what God understands about us today. Unity with the world is not good for us. When every single person in the world is in our ear, that is not good for us, because the world as a collective is going to really do one thing, and that's defy the will of God. And you see that here in this story. When everybody, everywhere, with every thought or every intention of their heart, if you think back to the days of Noah, when every single thought like that is in our ear, it's only going to lead to one place, and that's defiance. So God, not out of meanness, not out of just some mean desire because he said, no, I need you to fill the earth. God, for their own good, separated them. And he separated them according to language. Just make a simple biblical point here. Do Christians kind of have a different language from other people in the world? And I'm not talking about English, Spanish, no, we have a different language. There's a good reason for that. And the way you can distinctly know somebody is quickly by their language. And here's God's point to all of us. It's not good when you speak, and it's not good when the whole world can speak to you, because it'll lead to defiance. Now, think about it, folks. Not since the Tower of Babel has the whole world been able to get together until we got the World Wide Web. Not since the Tower of Babel can anyone, anywhere, at any time get into your head. Isn't that something? Technology that offers so much opportunity is also, like many things, a blessing can become a curse. And here's what happens when we talk about our children in this technology, all right? Let's get a little deeper into this for a moment. Think about it as parents. What's the main thing you try to do with your kids? I mean, most of you, when you heard me talk about getting on your bike and just leaving and riding off around the world all day without some sort of tracker or so forth, you'd just be back by 5, you're like, oh, I would never do that. I mean, that's the biggest problem I have at camp. You know, I'm a camp director. You know what the biggest challenge at camp is? No cell phones at camp. You know who gives me the most problem? The parents. The parents. I say, your kid's going to be fine. Trust me. Well, I don't know. I got to track them. I got to know what they're doing. They'll be fine. Trust me. And if you don't trust me enough to leave your kid with me for a week, don't bring them to camp, you know? And I feel sorry for your child. But we want to protect our children. You know when the old getting on your bike and riding off into the, neighborhood, when that all changed? When there was all of a sudden a kid who disappeared. Y'all remember those stories? Remember the back of milk cartons, what you would see sometimes, children's stories? Do you know how many kids actually a year would disappear in America? It was 100, around 100. And 90% of those were a family-related thing. But you and I would have thought it was the greatest epidemic in the world. Well, it made us reel it in. And that's fine. I get safety. But we won't let our kids go anywhere without strict supervision or our knowledge, or we won't let them, but we'll give them a cell phone. And anybody, anywhere can get in their ear. And they can go to their room, and people anywhere in the world with any desire of the world can be influencing their hearts and their minds. So here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about, who do you really want guiding the morals of your children? Who do you really want in your children's ear? And especially when you think about somebody being in their ear and getting into their heart, and you're not there to buffer it in any way. I think most of us are like this when we send our kids off with somebody. Even if in education, maybe you're sending them to school, you trust the school, you still want to know what's being taught, right? You know, you want to have some say in that. But think about it, with technology, anybody, anywhere can get in our ear. And here's one of the biggest and craziest things. Predators use technology more than anything else to get to kids. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were at church and everybody's Amber Alert went off. You know the Amber Alerts? And it was a young girl who was 14 who had met somebody online who turned out to be a 20-something-year-old, and she had disappeared. Isn't that scary? How did he get in the house? Well, not through the front door or a window. He got there with a phone. And what we see and understand is it's not always going to be maybe Instagram or Facebook. It can be a chat line through a game. Did you know that's the best way to message with kids today? And most predators are using is these games and chat rooms and games to get to kids. Abigail Shire, anybody here, if you like to read, I'm going to share with you some books that I think are good for parents to read. But Abigail Shire has written a book called what we say is bad therapy. She considers bad therapy, how children today are not growing up. More and more children today aren't getting their driver's license at 16. The average age of a male staying home with his family is about 27, 28 years old. You know, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but when I was 16, the first place I wanted to go was the DMV. Right? And as soon as my parents, I mean, seriously, when I went off to Florida college, peace out, baby. I loved home. It's a great place to visit, you know, and my parents were like, peace out. You know why God gives us teenagers, don't you? So we don't cry when they go off to college. That's why he gives us teenagers and their attitudes. But the point is, it's different now. It's different now. Rearing kids is different now, and kids are changing, and they're living with so much anxiety. And according to Abigail Shire, she says the entire society has really dropped the ball when it comes to kids and smartphones. We have legislation and regulation over so many things, and even parents, we have our boundaries. But when it comes to the phone, and here's what we're seeing. Kids spend less time socially interacting with friends today. Over an hour less. And I bet from my day and age, it's probably 2 or 3 hours less, because that's all you did. You couldn't wait to get home to just go out and play with your friends all day. All right? And it's changing the way they communicate. And we're seeing this get worse, and that may not be the right word to use, forgive me. But I think social interacting is imperative to growing. All right? It's imperative to our growth as humans, and the way God has designed us to be interactive. And the less we're interactive and the more we're isolated in a room, the more we're on a screen, the less we're really sitting down and talking with people, interacting with people, the less we're able to grow, and this is only going to get worse. And here's what Abigail Shire says in her book. The reluctance to take away the phone is even a bigger problem. You know, I have to deal with parents, I mentioned at camp. Every now and then we'll have a kid turn in a dummy phone. You have some dude, he's about 17 years old, big football player, and he hands me a phone with roses and, petals on it. I'm thinking, really? This is really your phone? And we find the real phone. And you know who he's been texting with all week? Mom and Dad. You know why many school systems are not able to yank phones out of the kids' hands during the day? Because it's parents who are having. The irony is, we protect them against somebody busting through the door, but we leave the windows of their hearts and their minds wide open through technology. And if you think you're the only one they're talking to, you're deceiving yourself. I'll tell you something, Mom and Dad. If you have a son who has a phone and you're not checking it every single day, I guarantee you your son has seen porn or some version of it. Anybody here ever seen the Netflix documentary Social Dilemma? If you haven't, you need to watch that if you're a parent. It shows you how the algorithms work and why certain things pop up on your phone. Anybody ever been searching for tennis shoes or searching something on the internet and you were maybe thinking of buying something and then you go to Facebook and then it pops up? Oh, the Holy Spirit must be telling me to buy this. Oh, that's exactly what that means. It's come out. No. The algorithm follows you and follows your IP addresses. And when they know your age and they know more than likely some of your interests, they know how to target you. So they target our kids with what will keep them on longer. Abigail Shire says the biggest challenge too is parents make the excuses. Why don't I want to take it away from them? Because it keeps them calm. Keeps them calm. That's about the same reason as you find an adult later in the evening. Why do I need a glass of wine before bed? Because it just calms me down. Well, think about that. That's like it's a drug. And I don't want to be the only ones. All their friends have it. All their friends at church have it. Everybody's got it. I don't want them to be the only ones. Remember what we said about language? Is it really our desire that our kids be like and speak like all the others of the world? Just throwing that out there to you. Here's what we're seeing. We're seeing personality change among our teens. Tons of studies on this. Anxious Generation is another good book to read, written by Jonathan Haidt, and he documents well how the anxiety rate of our kids is growing. If you think back to the iPhone, smartphones came in about 2008, 2009, 2012, Facebook and Instagram merged, and so you have that conglomerate. But also, it was around 2012, 2011, when phones gave us the ability to reverse image where you could take a selfie. Ironically enough, when that took off, so did anxiety and depression levels among our kids, especially our girls. The suicide rate, the depression rate, the anxiety rate, just at camp. You can't fathom how many kids are on meds. Now, I'm not anti-meds, that's not my point. Some kids need that. And it's no fun when a parent decides this is the week that their child's not going to take their ADHD medicine. And so they leave them on you and say, hey, you're going to wean him off this week. Thank you. So I'm not anti-total meds, but the point is, we medicate too often instead of dealing with the problem. Wellness before medication. And so here's what we're seeing. You have an altered sense of reward dependency. It used to be, and I bet Brother Dad, can you remember an older preacher who came up and complimented you? I can. A few weeks ago, I tell you, y'all know Sewell Hall? There's nothing more agonizing than to preach in front of your spiritual heroes. And literally, I thought I was going to throw up before. I was so nervous. But Brother Hall came up to me after the lesson, and he was very sincere. He goes, "That was a memorable lesson. Oh, I'm going to preach that everywhere I go. In fact, I'm going to preach it 3 times for y'all, all right?" But you remember those things because that's somebody you really respect. Here's the irony, and here's what's happening to our kids. They're more interested than the like of somebody they don't even know over somebody who really loves them telling them, "You're doing good." They agonize over how many likes they got. It's an altered reward dependency. You're getting your achievements and you're getting your accolades and you're getting your self-confidence from the wrong place and low self-esteem. It's generated so much low self-esteem that we think everybody looks like that. Well, they posted it. That's how they look. Or everybody has that. Well, they posted it. That's what they got. And we're living in a day and an age where the more we see that others have and the more we assume others have, we're really falling into a covetous idea of lifestyle that our Lord warned us about even in the 10 Commandments. And it's leading to low self-esteem, that we don't have confidence in ourselves and what we can do and achieve. And then there's low cooperation. If you thought that young people had low cooperation before, you give them a cell phone and just see how that amplifies even more. Because it's a drug to them. A friend of ours is a teacher, and they had somebody come speak on this in their teacher conference before the beginning of the year. And the presenter likened it to this. When you take away a kid's phone, it's like taking away their arm, because they depend on it just as much. Anybody here ever turned around and gone back to the house because you left your phone? Anybody worried about where it is all the time? Do I have it? Do I have it? And then nomophobia. It's not officially a clinical phobia yet, but it's about to be. Anybody want to guess what this means? I don't have my phone, and I'm stressing out. Think about it, folks. How many of us could just go without our phone for a few days? It's a part of our life. It's changing us. How do you know your child may have problems? Let me just give you some ideas. It's interfering with their daily commitments. It interferes with schoolwork or work itself or extracurricular activities. They're not even desiring extracurricular activities. They choose social media or gaming over in-person social interaction. It prevents them from 8 hours of quality sleep, or it prevents them from regular exercise. Jonathan Haidt, who is a social psychologist, wrote the book Anxious Generation, says there's 3 massive problems that we're seeing among our kids today. Not enough sleep, not enough exercise, and obesity, all right? And then their anxiety is going through the roof. Anxiety, insomnia, and poor health. Skyrocketing among our kids. Skyrocketing among our kids. They experience strong cravings to check social media, or you definitely know they've got a problem if they lie. They lie about it. Or they've lied to you about it. Point is, it's affecting our brains. All right, I'm going to get way out of my pay grade here for just a moment, all right? Way out of my pay grade. I love this stuff, but I just slept at a Holiday Inn. That's my only qualification, all right, for talking about this. But there's 2 kinds of chemicals that we all crave. There's a dopamine craving. It is an instant hit. Somebody makes you laugh. Oh, that's so much fun. Your team scores a touchdown. Yay! Yeah. The other team scores. Oh, it just sucks the life out of you real quick. We go ups and downs. Dopamine. Serotonin is a happiness chemical that also brings contentment and joy, but it comes about in a totally different way. Dopamine is like a junkie hit. Not that it's bad, the Lord made it for us. It's that laughter, it's that immediate pleasure. It's when somebody who looks at us and maybe winks at us if we're in the dating time and we get excited. We get a dopamine hit, we get excited, and we want that more and more, but it comes quickly and it leaves quickly. All right? Serotonin is more of contentment and pure satisfaction or the joy. It's kind of like anybody ever had a real messy garage? I mean, it's a horribly messy garage. And then one day you just bit the bullet and you went out there and you cleaned it for 4 hours and you were finally able to park your car inside and you stood at the end of the day and went, oh yeah. All right, that's serotonin. That feels good. You work real hard and you sacrifice to get a degree, or you spend a lot of time on a project, or you have a marriage that you've really worked at and you're feeling really close to one another and you feel contentment and love and peace. Serotonin, the Lord made that for us. Cell phones are not serotonin. It's a dopamine hit. That's why we crave it. That's why pornography is skyrocketing. That's why people are into social media like they are. And that's why a kid would rather go watch a video of somebody else wiping out on a skateboard because that is so funny instead of talking to his friends and near as funny as that. So I'll go watch somebody else and that's where I get my entertainment. Dopamine hits. So much so, Dr. Ann Lemke in her book, Dopamine Nation, said the smartphone has come to be the hypodermic needle of the day. And we're smartphone junkies. And our kids are junkies. And the relentless pursuit of pleasure and avoidance of pain leads to more pain. More pain. Y'all know the story of the parable of the souls? Remember what was unique about the thorny ground? Those that are the thorny ground are still in church. They hadn't left. Rocky, withered, went away. The path, never there really in the first place. Thorny ground are there. But they were so consumed by earthly pursuits and desires that it chokes out any fruit. And those thorns grow up and they don't produce anything good. One of the greatest fears Cheryl and I had rearing our children is that we would possibly plant something in their heart that seemed innocent enough, not necessarily immoral, but an earthly pursuit that would grow up and choke out that word. I love sports. Shouldn't be surprised my son loves sports. But I didn't want him to love it so much and become a part of his life that sports took him away from things. Think about this, parents. When we give our kids technology, we're planting something in their heart. And it can grow up and choke out. It can choke out the peace. It can choke out the community. It can choke out the blessings that God wants them to have. And if you think about it, technology is not cheap. What is the iPhone 45 selling for now? Like $14,000? I don't know what it is. You know, you get, hey, no, we'll put you on a payment plan where you get, you don't even realize, you just do it. You know, it's like, that, man, $1,000? Is that, I think that's about what they are. And $1,000, you're going to give a 6-year-old a $1,000 computer? What we do. So I want to just give you some take-homes real quick, then I'll give you, what time do y'all end, by the way? Is it 45 minutes or an hour and a half for class? All right, here we go. All right, let me give you some take-homes real quick. First and foremost, this is, and let me tell you, this may sound a little opinionated, but it comes with spending a lot of time with kids. It comes with being around college kids. It comes with being around teens, and it comes from just being a person who has been affected by screens just like the rest of us, okay? First and foremost, parents, if you're going to bring technology in any way into your home, you have to be an amazing example of how to use it. Kids mirror their parents. If you're on it all the time and you're on social media all the time and you're wow, you're just setting them up. You got to be an amazing example of how to use it wisely. Second of all, you shouldn't have a cell phone in any way or any technology like that before the age of 16. That's not me talking. That's experts in the fields. Jonathan Haidt, again, if you want to follow him on Instagram, he's a social psychologist, has done some amazing work on this, has written the book Anxious Generation, also Coddling the American Mind, another good read, Coddling the American Mind. And this is his promotion, and it's not just him. Doctors, this is the Irish medical community is pleading with the government to ban cell phones for kids in any way under the age of 16. They're trying to get that passed because they see the danger in it. And we're seeing this grow more and more and more with children's development, with their needs, and 16, and my daughter's here, so she got a phone when she was 16. And she's still alive. She lived through it. She may have some feelings that, she may want to punch me out sometimes. I get it, But that seems to be the growing number. And our school systems are trying to pull them out. And isn't it interesting, even school systems that we would consider to be more liberal-minded, they're the ones still trying to pull it out. And what are they fighting against? Parents. Isn't that crazy? Because it's interfering. Many schools now have the bag you put them in. Anybody ever have those? You have the bag, you have to lock it in when you begin the day, Thirdly, if you are going to have a screen in any way, and this applies to all of us, we got to have limits. And you need to recognize limits because you can get lost real quick and you can go down the rabbit hole of just getting into the YouTube vacuum. Isn't it interesting? As soon as you finish watching a video, what happens? The next one comes up. Yeah, anybody here remember magazines? Y'all ever seen those? They're in museums. They're really cool. I used to have a magazine. But you have a magazine coming and you flip through it, or a newspaper. Remember a newspaper? And you flip through it and when you got, oh, it's done. I got to wait till tomorrow, or I got to wait till next month. It's over. Not anymore. Not anymore. It's endless. It's endless. Even the CEO of YouTube said their greatest competitor is Instagram, other social media, and sleep. Got to find a way to keep you awake. So you have endless, so you got to set limits. Here's what the American Academy of Pediatrics, as well as social scientists, are saying should be limits. Now, this isn't the American Academy of Preachers. I'm not going preacher on you here, all right? This is from those who are in the field. Babies 0 to 18 months, none, 0, unless you're FaceTiming with a relative. Toddlers 18 to 24 months, less than an hour. Children 2 to 5, less than 3 hours, and really most of that should be educational. And then on the weekends, you would be limiting that. Kids 16 to 17 years, no more than 2 hours. No more than 2 hours. Now, we do need our phones. Anybody here have a job where you have to sit and stare at a screen all day? All right, that's work, not calling you out. All right, it's part of our lives. But you know what I'm saying. When it's not productive, when it's not useful, there's a limit. And all of us, every day you should be checking and see how much time you spend on it. A neat thing, if you have an iPhone, go to the battery under settings, hit the battery, and it'll tell you how much time you spent on each app that day. It's really insightful, all right? And it'll give you an idea of how you were spending your time. And then we need to be mindful there should never, ever, 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 ever be an opportunity to take any kind of technology to a secret place. No screens in bedrooms. That's where people get into their hearts. That's where the predator comes in. Have a basket, have a place. That's why our children are not sleeping. That's why you're not sleeping. All right, I'll tell you what my wife does. She listens to podcasts and I think sermons. She tells me she's not listening to mine, but she falls asleep so fast listening to a podcast that it probably is mine. There are some good ways to use it. But most of the time, if we're in a secret place or by ourselves, we're not looking at anything that's really useful, right? Everybody knows my passcode. Jill can get into my phone right now. My wife knows it. If you have a secret place or a secret login, you better look out. You better look out. I tell you, pornography's killing our men in churches. I didn't say kids. It's definitely killing our kids, but it's killing our men and it's killing marriages. Why does it happen? Secret places. The secret place is not good for us. And don't think that you can beat it on your own. Have the humility to seek help. And get rid of the screens. And then last, I would say it can be used wisely. I'm not just Debbie Downer telling you, oh, it's all bad. Oh, I mean, when I was growing up, it was the television, right? Oh, television's going to ruin society. It's going to ruin kids. But what was interesting, every night at midnight, what happened? It went to static. Oh, it usually had the national anthem, remember? You know, it's, oh, now I got to go to bed. It's midnight. I have nothing to do, you know. But there are some good things that come from technology. Great things that come from technology. I've been FaceTiming with all my good friends in the Philippines. That is so cool. How you doing? How y'all okay after the typhoon? Can we help you out? And then they're checking on me. That's even more fun. It's amazing. Make sure it stays amazing. Don't let it be a thorn. All right, any questions or comments? I talked way too much, forgive me. Okay, Saved by the Bell. Thank y'all very, very much. Really appreciate you letting me share that information.